stake in that. But you can't come in with no knowledge and say, there's rules. But if people who are indigenous, people of color, women, if they go through that same training, go through that same education, get that same degree, and are disregarded, then there's an issue with that because it's not based on merit.
For the job that you have, what education did you need? What did you're real knowledgeable.
Well, what they required was supervisor experience and a bachelor's of history.
Because I remember, you worked at Sam's.
Yeah, I worked at Sam's.
and now you're working in a museum.
I'll tell you this. At Sam's Club, when I was there for over a year, I applied for the manager and training program. They pulled me in the office and said, Rudy, we know you're going to school. And, if you want to join the manager and training program, we want our manager and training people to commit to the organization. So I said, okay, well then, thanks for the offer, but I'm going to continue to go to school. And could you imagine a lot of other people in that situation? Maybe they have a family, maybe they have a woman who's telling them they want to have a good job. Hey, patriarchy is also women forcing their men to take jobs that they don't want. Security jobs, jobs in the military, shooting and oppressing other people of color. Like that's also part of the patriarchy. That force that a man's like, I gotta do well for my family and my woman. And there's not a whole lot of opportunities, there's accessibility. What are you gonna do? Join the military. Get a security job. Security job is the first job that they give people of color in order to prove their whiteness. So this is what they're doing. They say, if you are capable of oppressing and showing violence to other people of color, you are acceptable. I'll show you why. Because when we had all these protests going on around the Alamo and all those statues and stuff, there was a group of horse riding, gun toting Texans who rode up with their right to carry. And there were people of color there. And they asked my friend who's from Mexico, Kristen Castaneda. She is European descended white, but she's Mexican. Her father was worked at one of the biggest banks in Mexico City. So they're like Peninsulares. They're descended from white people. They're not indigenous. And she got in conversations with other people who follow her about, well, what about the blacks and the Hispanics who are in that group that are riding up on the Alamo with their guns toting, like they're there too. Why do you say it's white supremacy? And I explained to them, the people who were in France during World War II, they had a choice when Germany took them over. Do I want to be a Nazi or do I want to fight and resist? And those people who became Nazis, they wanted a good family, they wanted supplies, they became Nazis. Well, what happened after Normandy invasion? Where are they going to go?
Yeah, where are they gonna go?
They're not the friends.
Your Uncle Ricky's got this joke that goes, how does a military in America salute? The American Army. It's like this. Mm-hmm. He goes, how does the French go? And Ricky goes, like this. Mm-hmm. But they always give up.
Yeah.
Oh,
they surrender.
That's
your Uncle Ricky, man.
Let me tell you about the French. The French Nazis. The French Nazis, since they had nowhere to go, they pulled back with the rest of the German army. They were there the last days of Berlin, fall of Berlin. They were the hardest fighters because they had nothing else to lose. Plus, people who are faced with a decision, they have an enemy, they can choose to join them or they can choose to fight. The ones who choose to join them, you could be a French person. French never did. The French government never did anything for you. You're just a person living out in the countryside, and these people come out, and then so finally you're forced to make a choice. And if you choose to fight, you do it to the end. And if you choose to join, you do it to the end. So if you're a person of color, a Hispanic or a black person, and you're given the choice to go into a security job, you're basically saying, I'm making the choice to oppress other people of color. And that's good enough for the white man.
I'm a mercenary.
Well,
I'm a mercenary.
You look down on other people of color and you look up to whiteness and you aspire to that. And no matter how hard you do it, you're never going to be white. And I tell that to people. I go to KSAT comment section. I go to the local WOAI comment section because I follow them on Facebook. And I call out the Latino, the Spanish surname Americans who are bullies. And I always say, we got a problem when Hispanic think they're white.
That's awesome, man. Hispanic
people think they're white is part of the issue.
Be heard.
Well, you have to understand the complexity of it in order to explain it to people because nobody's talking about this. The government will give you enough knowledge and enough resources to fight their enemies, but they won't give you enough resources to fight your enemy if they're the enemy. They will never give you that knowledge. They will never give you those resources. So, you gotta find sincerity.
You need to move back to San Antonio and make a difference here.
Well, you know what? I'd love to move back to San Antonio. I moved back in 2005 for Hurricane Katrina. But you know what? Indoctrination costs money. Indoctrination costs money. If you want people to believe, you need to give them some money. Because otherwise, why do they want to care to be Americans if Americans never did anything for them? So, that's all I'm saying.
So good. You got my vote, man.
You know, if I
I'll
can
back
convince
you all
people.
the time.
Now, what gets white people is stuff like, you know what? As a worker, we are clocking in on camera, clocking out. We're being controlled. Now that the technology is available, cops are being under that scrutiny. 10
Yeah,
years, 20
they
years
don't
ago,
like it.
we were concerned. Too many cameras. We don't. They're going to follow us. But now that the people, technology has it, is a zero-sum game. One side gets it as long as it exists. The other side's gonna
They
get
got them at the red lights here, but in San Antonio you can't have them. But they got a contract with Leon Valley.
Yep.
They said if you had that contract, they do for 20 years, it's void. Everybody else, you can't keep it. So they got cameras there and they're legal.
That's what I'm saying. Indoctrination costs money.
Here in San
Indoctrination
Antonio,
costs
they do
money.
that.
That's what I try to do. I look at the world, I look at a big picture, and I come up with a few choice words that say what the situation is. Indoctrination costs money, and when in a world where indoctrination costs money, grace to the people must be subsidized. So that's where I'm at now.
Thanks, guys.